welcome back. And yes, I'm being presumptuous that you've been here before, so I appreciate it. And if you haven't been here before, I'm just sharing my thoughts, talking about, some very topical conversation. Not necessarily topical, it's just I'm not going into great depth on some of the things that I'm sharing, some of the thoughts that I have. But regardless, appreciate you being here and continuing to show up and lend me your attention and the energy so we can do this together. So I appreciate it. I have been doing some pretty good studies over the past few weeks, and I wanted to share something that came out of those studies yesterday. And essentially, it's basically a simple mathematical equation to emotions, and it was called the emotional equation to life. I don't necessarily like math. Math and I are not friends very often, unless you're talking about doing math for finances and all that kinds of things, but practical math. But this kind of math I can get behind. It's a very high-level approach described simplistically by this equation, if that makes sense. So you're taking something that's essentially very complicated and you're just simplifying it into this equation. And I think it's really cool. I think you're really going to enjoy it. There's a lot of value in here. So I had to take some notes. That way I could present it to you in a way that was presented to me, for one, but so that I wasn't stumbling all over the place as I was describing this. And taking the notes obviously helps me as well. So we're all learning here together, which is great. So essentially that the emotional equation to life, the maturity equation, is basically going to show us that all negative emotions are due to non-acceptance. All negative emotions essentially disturb your peace, right? And on the other side, all positive emotions are due to acceptance, right? A positive emotion supports or preserves your peace. And so the way the equation goes is something happens plus non-acceptance equals anger. The other equation is something happens plus acceptance equals tolerance, right? And so some examples of those equations, filling in the variables, so to speak. If you face an uncertainty and you cannot accept it, you get fear. On the other side, if you face uncertainty and you can accept it, you get adventure. Continuing on, more examples. I'm just going to kind of run through them, right, just so you get the same examples as I got. So if someone produces something in life and creates something in life and we cannot accept it, you get jealousy. If someone produces something in life or creates something in life and you can accept it, you get inspiration. So if you are facing something in life and you cannot accept it, you call it a problem. If you're facing something in life and you can accept it, you call it a challenge or an opportunity. And so the non-acceptance, again, is basically where your negative emotions stem from. The acceptance is where the positive emotions stem from. And so throughout your day or week or month or situations, the emotionally mature question to ask would be, what or who am I not accepting that is disturbing me? Instead of how we probably would typically phrase that question. I know I have done this before, and now that this is brought into my awareness and now your awareness, you'll catch it a lot quicker these days. A lot of people ask things like, what is disturbing me? Or who is disturbing me? And this is basically called blaming. You're looking at the outside stimulus that's causing you this positive or negative emotion, and instead of taking responsibility. So the responsible way of looking at these things that come up is, what or who am I not accepting that is disturbing me? That way you have the power to change you, because you can't change people that are outside of you, right? Not unless they really want to, not unless they really want your help. So be aware of those questions. The other thing that was brought up was another way of helping to categorize, how non-acceptance shows up is if you are mentally present, right? You're thinking about something, but you're physically absent, meaning you're not around that person or in that place that you want to be in, and you cannot accept these facts. You say things like, I'm missing you, which is a more lower level of frequency or emotion. When you can accept things and you are mentally present, you're here, you're thinking about something or someone or someplace, but you're physically absent from that person, place, or thing, and you can accept it, that you're not there or with that person, you say things like, I'm thinking of you, which is a more positive way to feel, to represent that person, place, or thing positively, right? It makes you feel better to be like, yeah, I'm thinking of you, right? You shoot a message to somebody, hey man, thinking of you. But anyway, that's kind of how it can help you categorize it and feel it out. The other thing was 3 letters, essentially an acronym, I suppose. It's ACR, right? Accept, change, remove. So the second part of that mathematical equation to emotions is accept the unchangeable, right? The unchangeable is outside of you, right? Change the changeable, which is ourselves. It's really the only thing we can control. And if you can do neither of those, you remove yourself from those situations and let go. No more victimizing, right? So A, accept, C, change, R, remove. And then the last piece of info was just making you aware, and you, when I say you, I mean everyone, myself included. The goal of every goal is essentially peace. All right, just blanket statement, everything. The goal of every goal is peace. And so I really enjoyed that mathematical equation to emotions, the emotional equation to life, as it was called, because it's so very simple. In any thing that happens day to day, all you have to do is just ask yourself, what am I not accepting? Who am I not accepting that's causing this thing to happen or this emotion to come up? And how can I change it? When you have the awareness to stop yourself and ask those questions of yourself, you find the gap between your emotions and your reaction to the emotions, and that's where you can make that change. And the more often you practice it, the larger that gap of time will become. That gap of time will allow you to make that change in that space and have a more positive outcome, have more peace, So anyway, I hope that was of some value to you. It certainly was to me, which is obviously why I wanted to share it. So if this made sense to you, if you might have found some value, I appreciate it if you share it with somebody, because these kinds of things are extremely important, if for no other reason than just because we all have emotions and feelings, and there's so many people that don't know how to recognize them or control them or change them. So pass it on. I appreciate it. And again, thank you for showing up and lending me your attention and energy so we can create this moment together. I greatly appreciate it. And as always, have a beautiful day.